can you create a very stripped down, very tight production machine that would then be applied to making a feature film.
If you're anything like me, Christopher Nolan has inspired your filmmaking in one way or another. Watching the behind the scenes of movies like Inception, Interstellar, or even the Dark Knight trilogy has been my film school. But one of the worst things about the Christopher Nolan Film School is that everything feels out of budget. So I decided to take a look at the core principles of a Christopher Nolan film and apply it into my latest short film that I made for the company Zhiyun. Now, Zhiyun Films got behind a short film that we made for them to promote their new series of anamorphic 2x lenses. And right out of the gate, I'm just going to say these lenses were amazing. We had such a fun time shooting 2 films on them. Not only did we shoot this promo video, but also in the time frame of having those lenses and having the crew together, we're like, why don't we shoot another film on top of that?
Set 3, 2, 1, and go. Great. Yeah, that was great. You look like a spy. I think our team's doing a pretty damn good job making it look epic.
So to get us into the Nolan vibe, I'm going to be talking about 5 techniques that I stole from his previous films in this great Criterion interview, which I'll put in the links below.
We light the whole set with 3 or 4 lights.
Which you should 100% watch because it is the best. He talks about how he made his first feature film, Following, and all the fun techniques. And we're going to dilute that and talk about it in this video specifically, and also reference his more recent films like Oppenheimer and Tenet. But without further ado, let's get into the first Christopher Nolan technique, which is close-up.
One of the things you can do with very little money, a very little time, is you can shoot a really beautiful insert very, very quickly.
And one of my favorite things from Oppenheimer were these extreme macro shots that they used to cut up the film. It created diversity within the frames, and it allowed the audience to watch a feeling without having any sort of inner dialogue. So to start off, I put a macro lens on my camera. I use the Zhiyun anamorphic 65mm, which can get super tight with things. If you guys don't have a lens like this, I understand. I would also recommend just using any sort of macro lens. This effect will work on all of them. Now, the first thing with this macro lens is that it needs to get very close. So I grabbed a bowl of water and filled it up, and then decided just to put some ashes into the water, and it already started looking pretty cool. But the next step is what made it look the best. I grabbed a little pocket light, my little Zhiyun M20, and just decided to put it behind it and started moving it around the back. And that's when these shots started to really come to life. Panning the light behind the bowl, and then with having these little particles in there, it started to look like a galaxy. But what made it stand out the most was when I put olive oil into the water and watch what happened. And getting that anamorphic distortion on these particles in the water gave this cool effect that I was able to cut to multiple times within the video. I also now have a full library of just random cool close-ups, but this was so easy to achieve. Now, another hallmark to the Christopher Nolan effect is the lenses or the camera choices that you shoot on. Now, we didn't have the ability to shoot on IMAX, but I think something that can give the essence of the cinematic experience is anamorphic, which leads me back to the lenses that we were given by Zhiyun. They lent us their 135, 180mm, and 65mm out of their new line, and as well as an additional 9 other lenses that we were able to bounce between for the shoot. And having anamorphics on our set was the secret sauce to making every shot look like a painting. I think that speaks to the lenses, also speaks to the amazing skill of our cinematographer, Nick Pilecki, and the locations that we shot in. But just to specify on these lenses, Nick explains it quite well. It's like the look of a melting painting. And that's the difference between spherical and anamorphic. Spherical is what our eyes see. It's what you watch HGTV shows or home reno shows on. It's what most of the content we consume is on. So when you swap the lens into something anamorphic, and it squeezes and compresses the bokeh, the frame, the lighting, and gives you that nice 2:3:5 aspect ratio, and beyond that, it creates this sort of melting effect on the left and right sides of the frame and makes a longer frame rather than a higher frame. It changes the experience viewing it, and that's the best way I can explain it. Another hallmark to Christopher Nolan's work is his music. And working with composers like Hans Zimmer or Ludwig, I'm not gonna try and pronounce his last name, the guy who did Oppenheimer and Tenet. Both have won Oscars with their collaboration with Nolan. Now, we all can't work with those musicians, but what we can do is get music that feels like it. Audio is the music that you've been listening into this video, but also into the short film that we made. I wanted to get a Tenet style score for our short film, so all I did was went onto Spotify and typed in the score for Tenet, grabbed a link, dropped it into audio, and found a selection of songs that were similar. And then if I wanted to dial it in even more, I could use stems off of the website and choose the actual tone that worked best for the film. You can nail the genre, tone, and BPMs by just pasting in a link, and it will save so much time. I'm really happy that there's websites out there that do this now. So I'm just looking at the terms and conditions for audio, and I think they're probably some of the best out there for any music platform. You can get a lifetime music membership for $500, which is amazing. Or, I'm just looking at this now, you can get Audio Pro for $200 a year. Audio Pro subscription is paid once per year and gives you a full unlimited access to use audio music and sound effects anywhere from YouTube monetization to local television broadcasts for you and your end clients, up to 100 employees without any additional fees. That is amazing. That way you can work with your client, you work on a YouTube channel, all with one license. That's so amazing. Audio is crushing it, and they also have sound effects, which is so helpful. So if you're trying to build out your movie and you don't want to spend a bajillion different subscriptions and want to have catered music to the type of sounds that you're looking for, I highly recommend taking a look at audio. If you use a link in the description below, you get 70% off Audio Pro, which is an insane deal. I 100% recommend looking at it. And you also can do a lifetime membership for $199 with their special offer, which gives you unlimited access to their music. Now, watching Oppenheimer, I was inspired by how they used projectors in order to create virtual backgrounds or shift the background that was already there. And since we couldn't access a volume stage or use green screens, I took the Nolan approach of shooting stuff practically out of the fact that I'm horrible with doing visual effects. I used my projector in my living room, projected this cool teleportation thing that I got off of Storybox, and then got my lead actor / girlfriend to stand in front of that projector to make it feel a little bit more integrated. I grabbed my pocket light from Zhiyun and put it on a rainbow effect, something that would match the lighting within the background. Having those two tones worked really well, but it still felt, well, kind of uncanny and weird.
Safe space. Okay, ready?
And go for it.
That's
stupid.
So the next step was to get a blow dryer, and Jackie put the blow dryer between her legs and blew her face with the blow dryer air while leaning backwards and waving her hands. And the shot started looking a little bit better. We had integration with light, wind, and the background. Now, this is something you can't do with a green screen because the camera needs to be tracked with the background, and shaking the camera would almost be a nightmare in post-production. So shaking the camera with this background made it look super cool. And what ended up working really well was the more I shook the camera, the more I could hide the effect that this was a just projected backdrop. Watching this Criterion interview of Nolan talking about how they shot his first feature following, for them to build the production value, they would go out into these big wide open city spaces because they were free and built up the production value. There's this cool factory space near our house. So Jackie and I, on the day of a snowstorm, decided to go out and shoot these long lens telephoto slow motion chase scenes to get our wides and establish the film. And in order for us to make the snow look thicker and clumpier, we shot it in slow motion to pick up the particles and shot it on a longer lens, so using the 180 out of the Dezio's anamorphic lenses, and this was able to get all of those particles moving in the front and background, compressing the frame and making it look super beautiful. And Jackie stood out in the cold, as usual. I feel like this is just a thing that we do all the time now, and ran out in the snow.
And so what I've done is I've gotten Jackie to go really far away from the camera, and then she comes running up, and then I'm jolting with her. Now, balancing this heavy of a lens on the gimbal has been a bit of a feat, but I think it's cool. And I'm just gonna grab just some additional shots out here.
This was brutal to shoot in, but I think was probably some of the coolest, most beautiful cinematography that I've captured in a long time. Now, the next point and our final point has to do with story, and it's using a high concept device that the story can revolve around. Looking at movies like Inception or Tenet as reference points, they had these devices that the movie revolved around. And even though the movie wasn't about the device kept the plot moving. This is known in Alfred Hitchcock terms as the MacGuffin, a thing that pushes the plot along further that the audience knows more about than the main characters, but it keeps things interesting. And to keep it exciting, I took in my Inception inspiration and made the entire thing a chase scene, which I think made it really exciting. And then to wrap it all together, I had this voiceover that tied it in.
This communication is of the utmost urgency.
So when we shot this, we actually shot 2 films. We shot this Dizzo promo, but we also shot a short film called Frequencies about these 2 musicians who build a sound machine that taps into the secrets of the universe. Really excited to share that experience with y'all. Y'all, that was my Texan coming out. I'm not Texan, but I just like saying the word y'all. The best short film I've ever made, and it's going to be coming out very soon. We also used a lot of the Nolan principles of shooting the space, but this video can only be so long, so hang tight. Wait for that video to come out. And without further ado, here is the Dizzo promo short film that we shot with using those things. I hope you guys like it. And if you do like it, you can hit some buttons. If you don't like it, then turn this video off right now. I swear to God, if you watch, I'll be really angry.
This communication is of the utmost urgency. You've been selected for a critical mission codename Operation Anamorphic. Your objective is to intercept and prevent the activation of a highly classified machine. Intelligence indicates that a rogue spy, 235, has infiltrated the facility with the intent to activate the machine. The machine in question holds the power to unleash things unimaginable. The activation must be intercepted. This delicate balance of power is at stake. If activated, the effects of this technology are profound. Imagine limitless creativity. The mind exploring inspiration like never before. Gateways and portals into the imagination. The beauty, the power. Limits will be limitless. This technology in the hands of a creative could have serious impact. It could change the world. Your mission is to protect this device at all costs. The world needs Operation Anamorphic.